Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sloppy Lab. This is Bottom of the Beaker, the weekly show about the design, the ducks, and the strategy of Keyforge. Everyone, and I do mean that, truly mean that, everyone's favorite unique deck game. I asked my mom the other day, what's your favorite unique deck game? And yeah, she said Keyforge. What can you?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Mama Russell is all about the Keyforge.
She's got to be. Doesn't she still have thousands of decks at her house?
Sh- I actually removed them. I took them away, so they're no longer there. No longer have to call up Mama Russell to dig through boxes to get verification photos for various leagues.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I am the now in possession of all his decks, JT Russell, I guess. And with me this evening is a man who surreptitiously reaches for his stopwatch anytime somebody says it's time to shuffle up and deal. And I am, of course, talking about Quick Draw 3457. How are we doing this evening, Quick Draw?
I'm good. Happy Wednesday. Good to be back.
Good to be back indeed. And a very happy Wednesday to you. Yeah. Um, yeah. Fun one in store for this evening, as we've been enjoying a decent amount of adaptive as of late. That came together in concert with us putting out a call for more experiment prompts. And I guess side note too, folks, if you do have any smaller type topic ideas, love to hear those as we put together sort of another grab bag sort of episode in the not too distant future. Could use a few more to round out the list there. So please throw them our way. But this one came in and it felt meaty enough that kind of warranted its own episode. So that's what we're going to be doing this evening. Yeah.
Yeah. And the question, or rather the topic that we got in, we're going to kind of branch off a little bit from it too, because I think it's a really good starting point. But this one came in from Cats and Dogs. Thank you, Cats and Dogs, for sending this one. And they asked us, how would you recommend newer players get better at facing adaptive decks from earlier eras where a large fraction of their total Keyforge play and card knowledge is with newer sets? So I think this is a really important question because we are seeing lots of new players come in during the last 2 to 3 sets, post hiatus, really, Ghost Galaxy era, and they are not at all familiar with the FFG sets. So I think Kagi and Adaptive being the one event where you're always going to see these older decks, the one format, Adaptive, that you'll see them regularly. It is kind of more relevant to Adaptive, but it also applies, I think, to formats like Triad, Hexad, maybe even the rare Archon deck that you see from Ghost Galaxy. There's a few of them in there. And if you're a newer player and you've never seen any of these cards before, how do you evaluate those decks just looking at the Archon list? If you're playing Triad, how do you analyze which deck to ban if you've never seen two-thirds of the cards in front of you? So we're going to talk about that tonight, and we'll kind of flip it a little bit as well. So we're not just going to talk about how to learn the FFG cards, but really there are some older players out there who maybe aren't as familiar with the Ghost Galaxy cards. We'll talk about some strategies to kind of get to know those better as well. And we're not going to limit it to just adaptive, as I hinted at. There's going to be a few other formats where this is applicable as well. So if you're one of those people that's not a huge fan of adaptive, don't get scared away. Hopefully there's still some nuggets in here for you tonight.
Totally. And I do particularly love this question in the context of sets like, or formats like Adaptive, Triad, or Hexad, where decisions you make before you even start playing, like just in the deck presentation, the banning, safing, if there is safing phase of the match, can in some cases decide the rest of the next hour or two that you're about to embark on. So really crucial to have that knowledge, and I love this topic for that reason, particularly because I do enjoy those formats specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, and so shout out to Cats and Dogs for sending this. It's definitely a cool one, and you saw it and were like, yeah, I think this is actually bigger than an experiment. So here we are. And so where would you start? Like at the top, very high level. What would be what was your gut reaction to seeing this question and your answer to it?
My gut reaction might surprise you. And I don't know if that's the best place to start, but you asked, so I'm going to throw it out there. My gut reaction was, ooh, that's a great question. I don't know if that should be all on you as the player coming in to figure out. And maybe we are not doing as good a job as a community in making these formats as accessible to you as the new player coming in, right? And I'm gonna put an asterisk in right away that I want to address. I don't think adaptive or triad or hexad are particularly great formats to throw at beginners. But if you do have folks who are jumping right into the deep end, they're immersing themselves in the game. They said, yeah, I'm getting decks, I'm playing games, I want to explore these formats. How do I get better? For those sorts of folks too, I think we can do an even better job of making these formats accessible by not asking them to have to learn the entire game's history worth of sets before they can feel competitive, right? So, and I say this as a player who really enjoys older sets, right? A lot of nostalgia wrapped up in them. I say this as an MTG player who's always played the like evergreen formats, right? But I do think that it's important to have options for competitive play in particular that focus on the more recent things or just a more limited card pool, right? A restricted card pool. So they asked this, and I think maybe some of the play from our recent March Madness event, right, with which was adaptive best of one. I think this was kind of in their mind as they were asking it. And yeah, I think it's really tough to sit down and play an adaptive best of one match, not having experienced lots of older sets and have to do this evaluation. And it got me wondering, oh, should we as, event organizers or as community members be pushing for formats that have a more limited card pool, more limited set options, fewer set options? Yeah. So that's where it got me thinking. I don't know if you want to start there, but yeah, that's where it got me thinking.
Let's start there. So, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is Zoc running the Terran Keyforge League again out of the ABR server, which is a Hexad league with set restrictions, and sometimes there are SAS cap restrictions like there are this time around. He kind of mixes it up each time, but this season that just started last week is limited to AOA, Worlds Collide, and Ember Skies, SAS cap 80. Making a hexad out of those three sets. So like the limited card pool of set restrictions for a league like this is very helpful for just being able to just say, I'm going to pick two of each and just get a sprinkle in a little bit of everything. And it'll let you see a variety of things from other players most likely as well. There was also a restriction of no more than 3 per set. So you're guaranteed to see at least 2 different sets from all of your opponents, which is a pretty cool thing to do. And I definitely appreciate the leagues that are putting in these set restrictions now, because it, like, especially Terran Keyforge, like, it's really sort of freshened up, these old decks that we haven't played in a while, giving you an opportunity to play them because of the set restriction. There's no power creeping them out necessarily. So I do think kudos to Zoc for running that. More leagues, maybe even our leagues, should consider the set restrictions as well as a way to kind of push that. But also, since Terran Keyforge League is run in the ABR server, I want to give a shout out to ABR, because ABR is also a fantastic place to learn older sets, play a variety of formats, collaborate with other people to kind of learn more about it, to practice. So I do think leagues like that can be very impactful and helpful for learning these kind of card pools.
Yeah, totally. Love the variety that you get from playing in the ABR league. And Kagia as well is a great option for experiencing older sets, different sets, throwing things out there, seeing how other folks handle those things. Especially best of 3 is a great learning ground. Best of 3 is adaptive is a great learning ground. Yeah, you may get surprised in the first game. You may get surprised in the second game. You may get surprised in the third game. But you're going to see a lot of things. And especially Kagia is a very welcoming environment for that sort of experimentation. I love that from Zoc too. I didn't think much of it at first. The first season, right, we had the set restriction. Second season, we had the set restriction. I'm like, okay, this is cool. We're like making folks mix it up. We're not going to see the same old, tried and true options that get thrown around in the NKFL. And I kind of just assumed that was Zoc's motivation. But he made a point of saying, no, I'm choosing sets, especially for this past season. He mentioned, I'm choosing sets to make sure that there are accessible options, right? You can get a box of a display of, AOA for sub $20 and crack a few and maybe have some options there. And we're going to have a recent option as well. So at the worst case, you're looking at, grabbing a display or two of AOA, and hopefully you've got some Amber Skies. Maybe you missed out on Worlds Collide, but between those other two, there are some options for even folks who have got in post fire sale players, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and AOA being so cheap still, if you're into sealed, sealed AOA, if you have a local friend to play with, or even just crack them open and play them online against someone else sealed is a fantastic way to try it too. Just, if it's a set you've never seen before and you have some freshies like that, great way to just dive right in and say I don't really care how strong this deck is. I just want to learn the cards. And kind of related to that, Cats and Dogs was looking for some older FFG bulk decks, and so many of us like older legacy players have just almost infinite bulk decks sitting around. So I sent Cats and Dogs a bunch of bulk decks from all the old FFG sets, and they're just going to run through them and learn the cards from that way. It was probably like 4, maybe 5%. But even just going around and asking for bulk decks from people, I think a lot of people would be happy to send them to you free of charge, just pay for shipping. Um, and you can have your own set of 5 to 10 decks per set that way, and try to. You're not going to get to see everything that way, but you will get to see a lot of cards maybe you've never seen before. And so just being willing and open to kind of taking on some of that bulk and spreading it out, I think in the community could be a good thing too.
Totally. I really like sealed as a way for exploring any new set. So that's a little bit tougher with older sets, but if you can do a pseudo sealed sort of thing with either Boltex that you've gotten from folks, or using the random access archives as a way to kind of pull together a sealed pool from your own collection, or some of the other myriad of bots out there for grabbing random decks from the master vault. This is a great thing to
So
do.
just to interrupt you real quick, for those that don't know, what is the random access archive spot?
Oh, it's undoubtedly the sloppiest bot out there
I
roaming.
find it not sloppy at all. It is beloved. And actually, sidebar for it, I'll let you tell what it is first, and I'll tell a little tangent, a side story.
Sure. So it's very very simple. This is how it goes. Quick draw too. After how many, like a decade and a half of building software, probably one of the most beloved things that I've made is a glorified random number generator.
Hey, whatever works.
Whatever works. But there's two parts to it, right? So there's a form on the Sloppy Labwork website. Uh, and what you do is you input your Decks of Keyforge username, and then you have some options to specify a minimum SAS, a maximum SAS, and an expansion if you so choose. And it'll go through your collection and pick out a random deck that meets the criteria you've specified and spit it out for you. And what you do with it is sort of up to you. And so that's the web version of it. There's a Discord bot companion that you can install on your servers, and that does the same thing plus some Bitcoin mining behind the scenes. No, it's the exact same thing. It'll just give you some commands in your server to pull random decks from your collection, assuming you've got a public Decks of Keyforge collection. And yeah, that's it. And you can use it for running semi-sealed leagues where you're going to pull decks from your collection within a range to battle against someone else who's done the same. And it can maybe give you sealed-like experience, but within maybe a tighter band around the distribution of decks that you're going to see. Yeah.
Right. So this is the tool that's also used for the Miners League, the Random Access Archives League, which I have just joined this season. I've said before on this show that it's a really good simulation of a sealed environment. But this is my story. I found another local community about an hour away from me last weekend, and I drove up there with one of my locals to play in a Mass Mutation Sealed tournament they were hosting. We had 10 players for Mass Mutation Sealed, ton of fun. And as they were talking, they said that they may start up their own little like online league because they have some new players, some older players, a good mix. And they said they're actually going to start up a random access archives league using the bot. And I was like, hey, I know that guy that made that. And I don't, yeah, I mean, you're like a celebrity for this thing. And this is, if you don't know what this tool is, it's just so much fun to play with. Just playing a random casual game with friends. Be like, hey, let's just pull up a deck from the bot. And then also, just an FYI in the show notes, we are going to put links to it and links to how to install it in your Discord server if you'd like. It's very simple. It's so easy that even I could do it, which I did. So strongly encourage anyone to check it out. It's a really cool way to revisit some older decks, but also as we're talking about tonight, it's a good way of kind of just jumping into a sealed environment if you're not familiar with these older sets and trying out and just seeing what comes up and learning the card pool that way.
Nice. And some folks in the chat, Dead Sink Barcidia, say they're enjoying the tool too. Appreciate that, folks. Yeah, it is a simple thing. I'm glad it's getting use. Really glad it's getting use. And yeah, sitting on the shoulders of giants with decks of Keyforge here. Yeah, but hey, I'll take the praise. Keep it coming. What can I say? Yeah, a lot of fun, and had some other folks asking, about potential enhancements to it as well. Which get brought up from time to time. So we'll see. But yeah, love that. The mines are just a great place to play events. So if you are looking to experience some older sets, or just decks that are not kind of top tier Archon in a non-chain bidding setting, that's a great place to do it. You'll see a wide variety of decks. And I think if you're looking to improve and adaptive as well, that's an awesome option, because you are going to run into cards and combinations that you don't typically experience in a high octane Archon setting.
Yeah. And I want to say also, a lot of the things that we're talking about for strategies for doing this are all about playing games. There's really no substitute for playing games. And so if you're intimidated at the older card pool or even intimidated at the newer card pool, the best thing you can do is just play games with and against it. One thing Not Tonight always loves to do is play sealed games on TCO. I don't see a ton of people playing sealed on TCO, but they have a very suitable sealed function on TCO that will pull from all of the decks that have been imported to TCO in the past. And it's a good tip to always denote which set you're playing in the description. I think by default, if there's no description there, some people may assume that you're doing the latest set, which is Ember Skies right now. So if you want to play some older stuff, you can totally do that on there. You can play AoE sealed on TCO and wait for some random person on TCO to join your game. It's a good idea though to always put like which set you're playing with in the game description. So if someone wants to jump into a Coda sealed or an AoE sealed or a Dark Tidings sealed, then they'll know what they're getting into.
Quick draw. Yeah, catfishes, folks. Sealed TCO game, they come in like DT sealed.
Yeah.
What the heck is this?
Well, I've got a bunch of people that way, and they're now hooked on Dark Tidings since I've been doing that. So you're welcome, everybody.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Also, I recently learned that if you don't specify the set, or rather, you can specify multiple sets. I played a game on Seal TCO where like I had a Amber Skies deck and someone else had an ALA deck, and I was very surprised that you could do that. But you can do that on TCO.
Well, we're learning new things. Up until recently, right? You could get an alliance deck in your sealed as your sealed port, but apparently that's been resolved.
That has been fixed. Yes.
Funny. I will say I don't play a ton of sealed on TCO outside of teammates who are like, hey, let's play a sealed game. But I do that when there is a new set released specifically for the purpose of learning that set. The most sealed I play on TCO is right at the new release of a set, and that is expressly for the purpose of learning the card pool. So 100% agree on it being a great avenue for experiencing a set, especially not just what is being thrown around as the best heat that the set has to offer. Yeah, play some sealed games, play those cards, and see what happens. That's harder, of course, for older sets, kind of like you were alluding to. Getting somebody to jump into a Coda sealed game on TCO, yeah, maybe it'll happen for the nostalgia hit from time to time. But...
I would do it anytime. Coda sealed is fun. It's so fast paced. It's a very low commitment. Like if you jump into a Coda sealed game, it's going to be over in 10, 15 minutes maybe.
Yeah, just like my Terran Keyforge League matches, apparently.
Your games were just fire yesterday. Like. I barely had time to join the game and it was already over.
Going both ways too, and this was not a flex. Yeah. We were winning and losing games, and I think the whole 3-game match was over in under 30 minutes. It was like less than 10 minutes per game.
Yeah. I think 7 turns. Maybe one game might have been to 8.
And then outlier. Yeah, an outlier.
Yeah. And that's a SAS cap league too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they were spicy matches.
Very good. Yeah, my Terran Keyforge League is not off to a good start. you and I tested a matchup together last week before we submitted decks, and I instantly realized that my lineup was a mistake. And I asked Zach when is the deadline to change it, and he told me, and I forgot about it. So
Nice, nice.
I am stuck with a bit of a mistake, and I hope I can win one game per match. That's my goal at this point.
Well, as we're talking about, ways to experiment and learn older sets, one thing that I love about this league in particular is that the season is short intentionally to give folks room to experiment or motivation to experiment without feeling like you're locked into one lineup for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, right? It's 3 weeks at assuming you don't make top cut or whatever, and that's just the right serving size to get a flavor, get a taste for your lineup, and move on if it wasn't wasn't to your
Yeah,
liking. Yeah.
yeah, that's a good thing for me. Um, so let's kind of just flip it for a quick second here. Does anything would you change anything that we've just said if you're one of those legacy players that is trying to get to know newer sets or hasn't maybe played during the Ghost Galaxy era? Like, is there anything you would do differently for how to learn these sets?
Hmm. I do think I would put an emphasis on sealed play, and I do think that becomes a lot easier if you're a legacy player, let's call them, who's trying to get in touch with the newer sets, the newer offerings. I don't know. What does anything jump to your mind as something you do differently?
Not really, but I do think that at this point, like Winds of Exchange might be one of the rarest sets to see on TCO.
Mm.
I feel like you may have to go out of your way if you need to learn Winds of Exchange. You could certainly do Winds of Exchange sealed. Um, it's not my cup of tea. I will not join that game as quickly as I would join a Coda. Um, but I think you're going to see a lot of random GR and Ember Skies and Tokens of Change no matter what you do. So those ones, I think it's much more accessible to find those. Winds of Exchange, though, I mean, I even find myself like, oh, I forgot about all this stuff that's in Winds of Exchange. Like I haven't really seen it or revisited it in quite a while. Um, but yeah, I do still think the sealed is applicable for each of those. I think people may be a little tired of Grim Reminder sealed, or is that just me? Um, but there's still a lot of the same things you can do. Acquiring bulk decks from those sets from anyone if you're interested, or just using the Random Access Archives bot once again for those sets. Again, nothing will replace playing the actual game. So, however you can play them, I would say play them. Even if like, there's a lot of times I pick one like an older deck from an older set. Maybe it's one that I haven't played lately or just am curious about it. Um, Go into TCO games with the right mindset of not being like, oh, I need to win this game, because you're going to go up against like some if you're in competitive, you're going to be up against a ridiculous GR deck. If you're in casual, you'll probably also be up against a ridiculous GR deck. So just go into it with like, I am my purpose of playing this game is to learn about these cards in this deck, and not with the attitude of like, oh, I have to win with this like old woe deck that I haven't seen or haven't played for a while. Just even if it's a deck you haven't played or don't even own, just try to go in there and just go with the intention of learning, and it'll be a much better experience.
So intentional exploration, let's call it, as opposed to maxing out on going for the W's when you sign up for a random game on TCO. I can get behind
Yeah,
that 100%.
and another thing that I also do, especially when there's a new set, is I might see a card in a deck and I'll be like, oh, that card's terrible. Play it anyway. The first time you ever see it, play it anyway. If you get a deck that looks like a bunch of bad cards, or maybe you have like a binate rupture and you're not sure if you should play it or hold it, just play it and see what happens. And then experience that and understand, like, okay, like this had this effect and it does these kind of things, and it was bad in this situation because this happened after that. Just playing cards is a great way to learn them, and that kind of sounds stupid, but you see these bad cards and you're thinking like, I'm just going to discard it, it's bad. I would recommend just playing it and seeing what happens from it. Corner of the Market was one, not a bad card by any means, but I had it in a deck when Winds of Exchange came out, and I was like, I have no idea if this is good to play here in like turn three, so I'm just going to play it and see what happens. And you could watch your opponent archive a few cards. I forget what specifically happened there, but it gave me a good experience of like what this card is able to do and what your opponent can do against it. And I think that applies to a lot of things, even if you might look at it and say, I don't really want to play that in this game, but do it for the sake of learning and exploration.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Totally. I can get behind that. And I know I've mentioned a few times that I love seeing intentional exploration, even not in the like, I'm just going to play every card. I'm going to play, force yourself to play cards differently or to go for lines that you don't usually go for, even in old favorites, right? Just to kind of see what your deck does. Uh, and yeah, that's maybe more advice for learning some of your decks, but I think applies to experiencing older sets as well, especially if you're trying to get a complete complete tasting, as it were, of what it has to offer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I do. I will say too that I continue to play a decent amount of sloppy sextet sealed, and and throw random sets into the mix there, older sets in there. So we'll play. Not tonight. I'll play right, and I will play with AOA, Worlds Collide, Mass Mutate, and if you've got access to these, great. If you don't, then you can pull sealed from them as well from the Master Vault or from your own collection if you've got a bunch, or if you've got willing sponsors to throw a few bulk decks your way. That's great. I also like seeing box sets. Right, I've been experimenting with this and I'm refining a 8 deck set that cuts across a wide range of sets. 8 deck collection that cuts across a wide range of sets, and that's smaller and curated, but you can kind of rotate what's in there and get input from other folks. Yeah, so the intentionality helps a lot, but I think ways that you can do sealed or ways that you can kind of innovate on like a sealed experience are great avenues.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the battle box type thing is an interesting idea that I've toyed with as well. I've kind of focused on like a bunch of fun decks and not as much balance or variety. But I think you could absolutely, if you're local to somebody who is in that situation where they're trying to learn, maybe you as the veteran player could put together a sort of battle box and curate, maybe 4 or 5 decks from each set. Make sure you include every single house from each set. Make sure you include a lot of the most common cards or combos, perhaps from there. Like for example, for Coda, you want to make sure that you display like Control the Weak or Too Much to Protect, like important cards like that. In Worlds Collide, maybe you want to make sure that they see Tribute and Six Semper, and they can kind of see that, like stuff that stands out that you think is notable and important to learn for the sake of learning a set and learning for adaptive. So I do think that there could be a way of curating a battle box like that. Unfortunately, there's not like a set formula for it because everybody's collection is going to be unique and there's not like one way to do it. But you could definitely do it in a way to make sure that you're going to showcase the best of each set and give them a good experience from all of the past sets.
Totally. So do you think, I guess I'm going to bring it back around now. Do you think that it's practical for a new player coming in, says, I want to be competitive in formats like Triad or Adaptive, right? Hexad even, where you might be forced to put older sets in the mix. I think it's practical for them to like get that depth of understanding of those old sets to kind of get up to speed and be really competitive, or do you think that's just a really too tall of an order?
It's tall if they're just getting started. Like you really want to learn the basics of Keyforge when you're just getting into it. You want to learn probably the most recent set. You want to play a lot of sealed. You want to learn the mechanics, the tactics that are involved with it. And once a player really has a grasp on that, then I think you can sort of open it up to older sets. And the order you do that in, is debatable. It kind of reminds me of now that there are 9 Star Wars movies, what is the order? What is the correct order to watch the Star Wars movies? What is the correct order to introduce a new player to the older sets? Do you start chronologically and just say we're going to Coda, or do you work backwards, or do you start with like the most powerful ones that they're most likely to see? Like there's more than one correct answer in the sense of Keyforge. In Star Wars, you always want to watch how they came out chronologically, obviously. So it is just a different mindset of thinking, how would I approach doing this? And maybe it's different for everyone. For the longest time, I tried to find out, like, I tried to give my brother decks that I thought he would enjoy, understanding what kind of a gamer he is. And I never succeeded in that. And it turns out he just hates Keyforge. So that might happen too.
Well, not all great things are for all great people, so it can happen. It can happen.
To put it in perspective, and now this is definitely a tangent, and I don't know if a lot of people will get this, but my brother's a baseball fan, and he is also a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. And if you know anything about baseball and the Pirates, you know how sad they are. I invited my brother to come to the Archon Store Championship this Friday night, and he said, "No, I think I'm going to watch spring training Pirates baseball." And I said, "Okay." Enough said. I that is as stern a rejection as you could possibly get for not wanting to play Keyforge. So you'd rather watch the Pirates play in spring training baseball, and I was like, okay, I I cannot fight that. I'm out, and I will no longer debate this.
Oofa doofa, oofa doofa. Those are fighting words. Yeah, oh yeah, Dead saying, "Hey, we've got Skyborn now. You can kind of get the pirate references in there."
Yeah, that's true. There are pirates. There are literal pirates in Keyforge now, and there's also pilots in addition to pirates.
There are literal pilots and literal pirates. There you go. There you go. You got all the things. I don't know. I would not watch spring training baseball instead of playing most games. That stings a little, but I appreciate the
Yeah,
candor. I appreciate the
yeah,
candor.
for sure.
Um, oh, yeah, I'm sitting here too as we're talking about this and realizing that I still don't know if I have the best grasp of the tokens of change card pool, and I'm looking forward. I mean, I know most of the the big cards, the heavy hitters, the things that you would see in Archon, but I haven't played a ton of tokens of change sealed or adaptive for that matter. Um, yeah, so like I feel like if I was reading an Archon caliber list, I'd recognize the cards there and have a good sense for how they all hang together. But if I saw, more of a middling deck, maybe an offbeat token with some of the funkier cards in there, I might really scratch my head at how it comes together.
Hmm.
And that thought comes to me while I'm also looking forward this weekend to my. I'm actually going to go to my LGS and play sealed, and we're playing sealed Amber Skies. Like, is sealed's token of change just like not a thing? I don't know.
So my store has both, and every single week we get together and we always want to play sealed, and we always ask, what do you guys want to play? Amber Skies or Tokens of Change? Everyone always says Amber Skies.
Yeah.
So I've heard that Tokens is not a good sealed set. I've done it a couple times. I don't love Tokens to begin with. But I'm kind of like you, where there's a lot of cards in that set where I'm just like, I don't even know. I've never seen this card before, and they're not even all the rares. It's like sometimes it's uncommons. Um, I think that's probably a symptom of the too many sets argument, where they came out with these two sets at the same time in December, and I think people gravitated towards Ember Skies in general more, it just kind of left tokens neglected. And so for that reason, I really hope that they don't do a lot of these two set simultaneous releases anymore. But I know we're getting Crucible Clash pretty soon alongside
Hmm.
um, Prophetic Vision, so we may have a similar thing happening there. But I think Crucible Clash, if I'm not mistaken, might be all reprints.
Maybe I don't know if it's gonna be all reprints. I'm not sure how they. Well, certainly
The Archon powers
the
are
Archon
not going to
powers
be reprints.
could not
Yeah.
be right. I don't. I guess I don't know either way. I got the sense that they would not be, but
Okay.
I don't quote me on that. That was just kind of a gut feeling.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It did come as sort of a rider on Amber Skies. It didn't have its own game found, and there wasn't a lot of like fanfare around its release. At least that trickled to me. So I don't know. Yeah. And I never kind of went through a period of like, hey, let me jam some tokens of change sealed on TCO in the same way that I did for learning other sets. So
Yeah.
just kind of that all kind of like worked together to me having less of a deep appreciation for the card pool in tokens than other sets. Yeah,
Mm.
interesting. Um,
Yeah.
interesting from Dataforge stream from Zoc in the chat too. Suggesting set restricted adaptive for card learning. Interesting, because I'd come at this and said, hey, the next time we run a March Madness best of one event or just a best of one adaptive event, I think we probably ought to put a set restriction on it, like most recent 3 sets. I don't know.
Mm.
But I could see doing something more, I don't know, more spicy, a recent set, an old set, and a random set in the mix too, or something like that.
Well, if
Something.
it's best of one, I feel like maybe 3 sets would be a little bit too many. You wouldn't
Mm,
be guaranteed to see like, the Coda or the AOA if it's like riding along with Woe or Amber Skies or something like that. I mean, it works in Terran Keyforge like because of the Hexad being that like you're going to play 3 games and you're going to see 2 different sets. Um, I wonder though, like you ran the March Madness here in March. Maybe we could do like a every other month run a best of one bracket tournament over in the Kage server and just be like next time we're just going to run maybe like code and AOA only, and maybe just kind of work our way through it the rest of the year and allow players that want to see these older card pools to kind of learn it that way in a casual best of one bracket tournament, or maybe not even a bracket because if it's a bracket that means that like single elimination. So yeah, I don't know. We could brainstorm it, but certainly I'm open to hosting more set restricted adaptive events as well.
yeah, curious to see that play out, and I'm also curious to get some thoughts from the participants of that event. With it wrapping up, we are now in the finals. Super excited for that. Huge congrats to Not Tonight and Architect for making it all the way, battling to the finals there, and we're gonna have that showdown later this week. But yeah, I'm gonna throw out maybe a survey. I think we should throw out a survey for folks to provide some thoughts if they're willing on that event and how it played out. We tried a couple different things, right? I don't know if I've seen too many adaptive short events of that sort. It was bracket style. We also had an entry fee, and I'm curious what folks' take on was that. If there was anybody who joined because it signed up because of it, or stayed away because of it, or if it just didn't
Yeah.
matter to anybody.
Yeah, I thought it would fill. It ended up not. I think. What do we get? 28 players sign up out of 32 we
29,
aimed.
29. We
29.
were 3 short of the full 32. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
hmm But it was a good showing.
Um.
29 is a good showing. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't think we would not hit 32, but I thought it would be trickling in at the end, I guess I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't quite get there, but it's still a great event. I ended up getting eliminated to Architect, who's in the final, so no shame there. It's always good to lose to someone who makes it that far and feel like, okay, well, I got beat by one of the best this time, so it happens.
Totally. And we'll have some data, some very nice data coming out of that event to include in maybe our Kagi meta, our adaptive meta uh, breakdown, which I'm excited to dig into too. Once the event's over, I can kind of like dig in full without, any any question of impropriety around data handling, as it were.
Sure,
You know.
sure thing. So we talked a little bit about how do players like dive into these older sets, and is it reasonable for them to have to know all the sets? And we've also talked in the past about rotation. And now that we have some concrete examples of players sort of being intimidated by the massive card pool that was here before they got here, is it time, or when will it be time to revisit the rotation discussion?
Yeah. And I think I want to give Cats and Dogs credit too. I think they saw this as a challenge that enticed them. I do think, though, that it is a cause for intimidation and will be an accessibility barrier, certainly for some of these formats that are enjoyed immensely in online play, and I think will become an issue to consider, if not one already, for Vault Tour style events. So your Archon, your Alliance formats as well. I think it's time. I think it's maybe even a little bit past time to put in place. And I say that as a person who has a lot of love. AOA is my favorite set. I love DT. I love Coda. I'll really enjoy Worlds Collide Mass Mutations for sure. But I think that if we're taking an eye toward long term accessibility, then it makes an awful lot of sense, especially at the rate that new sets are coming in. And I say that, and I don't mean that, and I'm not advocating for having no place to play those sets at high level events, but I do think that there ought to be options, Archon options, and I mean it can, like, big capital A Archon, where it's like bring your deck, not just like not just Archon solo. So calling things like adaptive and alliance flavors of Archon, the Archon umbrella, that are set restricted. Yeah,
Mm,
at high level
yeah.
play. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there will ever be a set restriction in Kagi. But I do think that, well, there'll be offshoots perhaps of Kagi that can do that, or other leagues that'll do it. TKL has done it. We talked about that. But I will also say, like, this is, I think, pretty important and adaptive, because I'm very open that I bring Dark Tidings to adaptive because players don't know the set, don't know the cards, especially the weird interactions that it might have. And so that's absolutely something when I play competitive adaptive that, yes, that's like a factor for sure. And if there is a way to mitigate that for players, I'd be all for, teaching more people Dark Tidings. Um, but it's a real factor that, the larger the card pool gets, the more advantage there is to the people that know it all, and that I think is more prevalent in adaptive as well than it is in Archon.
And so I worry about that less in adaptive best of three, and I see the advantage to, or I see it being valid to reward knowledge of the card pool, right? Does it worry you that there's sort of an accessibility concern baked into that, right? Like, you have this advantage that you can gain uh, by having that knowledge that happens to reward the folks who have been around longer, and kind of the other side of that coin is it makes it harder for newer players to break in, right? Does that worry you, or you say, this is a format that, it's good that some of these formats exist, and this is the one where we can kind of do it well?
It's a little of both. Like, I don't want the ability to play Dark Tidings to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I definitely recognize that it is a barrier to entry. It's one of the reasons why adaptive is not a format for beginners. But there's other reasons for that as well. Um, so, like, there's pros and cons to it. I can see both arguments. For the rotation, for restricting the sets. I don't want to see it entirely go away. I do think that you can get creative with rotation and not always just say the most recent three sets. And like what Zaka is doing, like curating a set of three sets that are not, sequential, but still could create a unique meta that you haven't seen before. Um, so those kind of things I think can be nice to try as well. Like maybe we're not just going to go with like Amber Skies, Grim Reminders, Winds of Exchange for the current rotation, but maybe it's like Amber Skies, Dark Tidings, and Mass Mutation, or Worlds Collide, or something like that.
Hmm. Right on. Yeah, and yeah, and I guess I definitely worry about this more for adaptive short, best of one than best of three. Uh, if anything, I see the best of three lens, the best of three world, as a great place to get some lessons. I don't know, and get some more experience. See how other folks take a deck that you maybe thought you knew, and you know they take it in a different direction, and that's a wonderful moment. And
Yeah, no question that is. But like even with a best of three, you can still get a very quick 0-2 just from not knowing the cards. Even if you watch your opponent play a deck that you don't know what any of the cards are, doesn't mean you're going to be able to do the same thing the next game.
Sure.
Um, I got a lot of 2-0s in Kagi that way, just from playing Dark Tidings decks that people hadn't like fully seen or understood before. So best of three helps a little bit, but it doesn't solve it.
Doesn't solve it. I think it has the same level of issue that you'd get at Archon, right? Just a regular sort of Archon. Um,
I would argue it's
maybe
more.
you think more for
I
best
do
of.
think it's a bigger issue in adaptive best of three than it is in Archon best of three. Yeah,
Hmm.
because like Archon best of three is still a format that is very matchup dependent.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you see what a deck does in game one doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to answer to it in game two, even if you know what all the cards do.
Hmm. Hmm. I buy that to an extent. You still have the same matchup dependence in adaptive best of three that you have in Archon when you go into game one not knowing one of the decks well. I guess best of three Archon. I guess if it's best of three Archon, maybe it's a little bit more pronounced. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously you swap decks in game two, and so if one of the decks has a significant matchup advantage, then you're going to play the other side of that. And if you've never seen the cards before, you won't be as um,
Mm-hmm.
you won't have as big of an advantage when you have the plus matchup as your opponent just because you didn't know the cards, but you still probably have a plus matchup. Whereas in Archon, if you have a negative matchup in game one and you don't know the cards, you're probably going to get trounced. And then in game two, you still have that negative matchup. Maybe it's a little closer, but I don't think seeing the cards in a negative matchup helps you, necessarily turn the tide in game two in Archon.
Mm-hmm. Or said another way, if you take game one to learn and embark on best of three, then you have games two and three to make good on the stuff you learned. Whereas in adaptive best of three, if you're learning and missing out on your winning advantage in game one, you kind of missed your window,
Yeah,
and that's it. Okay,
yeah.
that sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable. Hmm. Well, there you go. Gosh, I guess there just isn't a ton of. Well, I say that uh, with I say this with final refrain wrapping, but there isn't really a ton of best of three Archon that gets played. Usually, you're seeing best of one. Kagi's a prominent, long-running best of three adaptive league, so there's at least a recurring outlet for that. And I'm mostly mostly worrying over this question in an adaptive short setting, kind of looking toward large single day event logistical things as that being a more likely candidate than the best of three flavor. Yeah,
Yeah. Still people clamoring for a triad league of some sort. I'm surprised there still isn't one.
I do think that Triad Best of One is a better Archon format than single deck Archon.
Yeah, I think no question.
Yeah, it's sort of a hard like hearts and minds thing to win people over to because single deck Archon is so iconic and would feel weird to take away as an offering. But I
Hmm.
stand by like Triad Best of One being a much better format, much better kind of like Archon format than single deck Archon
For competitive purposes, yeah,
for
I
competitive
totally agree.
purposes. Yeah, and
Yeah.
even for like self-expression, like let's leave the spikes behind and say like what Timmy and the Timmys and Johnnies and Jennies can do. Like, yeah, I think Triad is a better bet. Maybe it's not better for, hey, you and I are going to play a friendly. Just show up at our local and play a friendly. Sure, Archon solos is a great thing to do if we're not playing sealed.
Hmm.
But in any competitive setting, I think Triad Best of One's better. Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, do you have any perhaps final thoughts on this topic for this evening?
I'm not sure that I do. I'm not sure that I do. Yeah, underscore that the mining league and ABR are great places to get experience with sets that are not your most commonly played on TCO comp or TCO casual environments. And they're also, hey, like, batteries included, opponents included, if you will. You don't need to have a team or folks at a local scene that you can, twist arms into playing older sets with you. And ABR is great as well in that respect because you will also have a bunch of other folks who have a vested interest in helping you learn an older set deck if you were to pick it up. So you have
Yeah.
brains to pick there too. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're the kind of player that always wants to play your own decks and just like online sealed's not cutting it for you, uh, there will be people tripping over themselves, I think, to be the first to reply if you ask hey, does anyone have any bulk decks they can just send me for the price of shipping? You will get so many volunteers. And if you just want to get like, you know, 5, 6 decks from each set, you will have no problem whatsoever finding someone to give you those. Even if you're in Europe, I think there's probably a lot of European players who do the same, as long as you uh, don't have the language barrier for whatever deck gets sent your way. But there will always be people around who'd be willing to share some of their bulk decks with you. So don't be afraid to ask.
Totally. Good thoughts to end on there. Uh, Maybe we should hear a word from our sponsor and wrap this one up.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, quick draw. This episode of Bottom of the Beaker was brought to you by Little Sniff, the finest facial tissues in the crucible. Whether you're tearing up over a heartbreaking loss or just battling the seasonal spores of dis, Little Sniff has you covered with plush amber infused softness and just a hint of Martian eucalyptus. These tissues will leave you feeling fresh, comforted, and ready to forge ahead. Don't let sniffles slow your strategy. Grab a little sniff and keep your composure. Little sniff for the moments that matter most. Thanks, little sniff. Do you ever feel like you could use a little sniff after
I I've been using Little Sniff for a while. I used it in my TKL match last week. I'll be using it in my future TKL matches. I hope I don't need to use it for our post show adaptive match, but I have them handy if I do.
you know, I'm gonna tell you how you use it, quick draw. You use a little sniff, maybe around key 1.5, and then and then end up winning the game.
I have done that. I am known to do that.
Excellent. All right, folks. Well, I want to also let you know that Bottom of the Beaker is recorded live on Wednesday evenings at 9:30 Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/sloppylabwork. You can find recordings of our past shows and other streams over at youtube.com. We are at Sloppy Labwork over there. And for the very best content, 34? No, 57 times distilled and scraped from the bottom of the beaker. Search for that very phrase, bottom of the beaker, in your podcatcher of choice, and we'll be there, ready to explore some of the older sets with you. Indeed, we will. All that and more at sloppylabwork.com. And quick draw. Got any words for the folks getting off at the final audio stop?
Thanks for listening, everybody, and stay sloppy as always. We'll talk next week.
Stay sloppy indeed. I'm going to cut the old Zencaster right there and adjust things over here. You know, I think I maybe bumped a mic setting and had some background fan noises coming through. Hopefully that wasn't too obnoxious.
I don't think I heard anything.
Chat folks too, let me know. But I'm curious. I'm just gonna mess with this real quick. Some science right in the moment. Of course, it's like right.
This is going to go well.
No, it's
It's going to go
definitely
so well.
not gonna go well. It's definitely not. Oh yeah, that's looking a little bit better. It's probably quieter though. Am I too
It
quiet?
is a little quieter. No,
It's a
you
little
sound
quiet.
good.
Didn't
It
hear
does sound a little better.
any. Okay.
Barcidius did not hear any fan or interference, so I think we're in the clear.
Yeah, I think there's like a low pass filter that I turned off, but it also bumps me down. So I was seeing kind of on the mixer, like some extra stuff coming through, but eh, we'll see
No,
how we'll see how it was. We'll see. Wasn't too bad
fix it in
before.
post.
Fix it in post. It'll be great. It'll still be great.
The producer can handle it. He's great.
Yeah.
He does everything.
Although I will say that the last, I don't know, handful episodes probably been extra sloppy because usually we're a week ahead, right? And right now we're kind of hand to mouth on episodes coming out, so
Yeah.
we're not getting the production time that we
We'll
typically
try to
do.
fix that in the next couple weeks.
We'll see if we can. See if we can.
Churn out some more content.
Indeed. So should we maybe take some? Well, I guess we have two options, two ways, quick draw, that we can take our own medicine for exploring old sets, right? We could play a short adaptive game using the random access archives to grab a deck, or we could crack open a deck from an older set that we might have hanging around and do sort of a sealed adaptive short game.
Ooh, I like that. I have some Spanish DT right behind me. I have Portuguese Mass Mutation in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be up for that. I was thinking the random access archives, but I kind of like the idea of a sealed adaptive.
I may also have Portuguese dark tidings. Portuguese dark tidings? Spanish dark tidings?
Oh, probably Spanish. That was the famous Spanish heist.
Well, it's the one you sent me, so whichever one.
Oh, it's excellent. Let's do that then. Yeah. Little thing that I've been doing just for a little sales pitch of my own here. Some lucky people that buy decks from me recently, they get a Spanish Dark Tidings in the package with them, with the condition that you can have the Spanish Dark Tidings, but you just got to play me in a sealed Dark Tidings game sometime. So maybe
Ooh.
people should buy all my decks, and you might get some Spanish Dark Tidings in there while I still have supplies.
And that was the last time Quick Draw sold any decks.
All right. Well, I have my Mareas Oscuras here. I believe you should have the same.
Wow, I was gonna say Marias Oscuras, so we should just go with what you said.
All
Um,
right.
can,
I'm gonna have to scan this on stream here.
yes,
Actually, I can probably do it on my phone.
yeah, crap your phone over here. Let's see if we what we got going. Ooh,
Not my favorite house combo.
ooh, Borbullas.
Ooh.
Mm,
Um.
butchering that name, I'm sure, but okay.
Okay. Well.
Do we have any French Seven Sins decks you can practice with, Spence? We have intentionally taken all those French Seven Sins decks out of circulation just to pad Behawk's numbers at various CAG Live events, as it were. So, out of luck there, I'm afraid.
Interesting. This one looks pretty cool here. I'm practicing my Spanish as I look at the deck list.
So, give me your nice announcer voice and what songs you got?
Of the name?
Yeah, of the name.
Oh man. S. Venugopalan El Vacío. El
That
Vacío.
was your nice announcer
Oh
voice.
no, I don't have an announcer voice.
Valdez.
I need some little sniffs though. I think I
I'm doing L. What's L? Oh, I guess. Oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't do the quiz. We didn't do the quiz. The Ian Yoink.
Is
Uh,
it my turn or is it your
this is
turn?
my turn. I haven't taken this one yet. Um, let's see.
Hmm. Do you want to do it or you want to wait for next week?
We can save it. We can save it.
All right.
I think we're
There's
getting
yeah.
a new one next week too. So we'll see. I may
Maybe
have,
we could do both of them. One for me, one for you.
so next week, I think we're recording Caggy things and may not have time, but we can.
True.
We'll work it in. We'll work it in. Um, I'm like also very interesting, very curious what some of these cards are.
So wait, do you have an announcer's voice that you're going to tell us?
I have a voice. You can tell me if how much. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation too. Valdis el lineal de la catacumba.
Hmm.
Uh,
De la Carcumba.
de la catacumba. Yeah, that's a fun one to say. Say incorrectly, but it's fun to say. I don't know if that's kind of getting there.
All right.
All right. Oh, okay.
Uh, well, this is a pretty cool deck that I got over here. I hope yours is fun too.
It will be fun. It looks fun already. It's got triple bubbles. I'm pretty
Ooh.
sure that's Barbullas is bubbles. Oh, okay. 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 Looks cool.
Yeah.
Looks cool.
I do have some Tide Razors, so that's good. I like that.
Hmm.
All right, let's not import this one to DOK yet. Let's just import this one over into TCO.
Oh, interesting. I've triple storm surge, triple bubbles. Some fun tempo nonsense, but not a lot of well, some
All right,
payoff.
so to make sure I get the settings right on the first time, I've got hide deck lists, adaptive best of one, beginner password sloppy. Did I forget anything?
I don't think we can hide deck lists. That sounds
What are you talking
sounds
about?
hide
I guess
hide deck lists.
it's sealed, so I was like, oh, I should just automatically hide deck lists. Um, Maybe we just look at houses and decide which to bid on based on the houses.
Bid based on houses. I think we already get enough. I think we already get enough flack for adaptive being coin flippy, right?
Well, you're the one that liked the sealed triad where you just ban based on houses.
I do like that. I think it's great for that environment. I think we just gotta let us take a look.
All right. So
This is already off the cuff too. Um,
it is very off the cuff, yeah.
I'm like looking at the Archon card. I don't know any of these. I should have played more DT sealed, but it's because yeah, it's not a native language for me. I took about
No,
a quarter semester of Spanish, so I got a little bit. I got a little bit in there.
a quarter semester? That's not a thing.
It was that's what I took. I was like, I'm done.
That's
I'm not doing it
I was gonna
anymore.
say, yeah, it's like, did you like drop it right before the ad drop period was over?
Yeah, it was. That is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Um, I took 7 years of Latin, and I was like, I need to do something different. And then I started, taking Spanish, and I was like, I belong in the maths and sciences, not learning a new language. What was I doing? What was I thinking? Um, but here we are. Hmm. Still reading my own deck. Sorry, I'm a little slow here. Quickdraw's already made a selection. Jeez.
No, I didn't. Does it say I did?
You made a yeah, 7 years of Latin, Murph. I did actually. Uh, yeah, yeah, may indeed. Interesting. Okay. Well, look at you, triple Ambervac with Imperial Forge. That is hilarious. That's
That's some pretty
that's
cool stuff.
hilarious. Uh, you have a ton of capture
Mm-hmm.
with that Imperial Forge.
Yeah.
Yeah, muy descuidado. A lore drop. Yeah, I got into like the Latin poetry and all that stuff. It was fun. I never enjoyed it. I just kept going. I was like, I gotta keep going. I don't know. Um, Man, this is interesting. Quick draw.
It sure is. Now, just a fair warning, don't get confused about which one to bid on because they both are Spanish and they both begin with V.
Hmm. That is just such a cool Imperial Forge.
That's a really cool Imperial Forge pod. The whole pod is like,
Animeticus Lacus.
yeah.
Rankage
And
match.
you're probably not looking at it, but Spoils of Battle has a capture pip on it, which is extra nice. I have all four of my enhancements have a single capture on them, just FYI.
Nice. I didn't look at my enhancements. They're both draw
You have
pips.
a Jackie Tar and Archon's callback each with a draw. Archon's callback with a draw is kind of interesting.
Yeah, you get that draw before drawing up
Before the yeah.
and then drawing to five. Yeah.
I guess it doesn't make a difference then if it's that's a dead drop pip then, isn't it?
Yeah, unless you are already above six.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Womp womp. Yeah, I was on that track. Uh, hmm. Oh no. Man. So I know which deck I want, but I'm kind of thinking about numbers. You know, I like to have numbers in mind.
Oh, I don't have a number in mind. I already made my selection, but I have no idea on the number because you're probably going to pick the opposite deck as me.
Okay. Okay, then let's see where we lie, and I'll think some more uh, afterwards.
All right, we're on the same deck.
Hmm. Oh no, sorry, sorry. I think I got my conversations crossed there, Murph. Um, I'm gonna do as Quick Draw does this time. When in Rome, I'm gonna feel it out as we go.
There you
Uh,
go.
I say that, but I've got already dropped. Five chains now. Holy moly. For goodness sake, I gotta read this card again. After a player gains amber by reaping, a creature they do not control captures that amber. Man, that's really
Yeah.
funny. That's really funny with your deck too. I can reap into you, empowering your Imperial Forge.
Sounds good.
Okay, I say five.
I'm going to break my own rule here.
Going to
I always
seven.
say 3, 4, 5, 7, but I'm going to go to 6.
Wow. Ooh, we should have decided which deck was going first um, before before starting bidding.
Have we
No,
been doing that all season?
we haven't. No,
Yeah, maybe we stick with what we've been doing then. Just leave it to the Crucible gods.
it's the fates. All right, leave it to the fates.
7. Maybe I should have gone 7. I'm going to be frank. I don't think your deck is that good.
Don't talk about my deck like that, Quick.
I'm just being real. 7 seems like a lot.
It's the number after five. It's a big one. You say my
What?
deck's not, you say my deck's not good, but I'm gonna barbuyas all your hammer. It's gonna be great.
All right, I'll go 8.
I love. So this has all just been a. This has all just been. Uh, this has all just been a farce, right? Like you were actually going to go to 12, and just trying
No,
to get me to go early, and I was actually
I,
done at like 2, but I'm just talking you up to keep going.
I, I don't. Did you really? Was 2 all you wanted, or?
No, no, I was kind of in the 6, 7 range.
Yeah, I'm okay with 8. Um, yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in post, but I'm okay with 8, especially since I won the flip and I'm going first.
Yeah, I dislike that immensely. I do not feel good about this, but we're gonna see. I feel okay about that.
Hmm. And I am going first. Might as well keep it. Seems okay, I guess. Here comes the bubbles.
Barbuyas. I'm gonna
There he
say that
is.
every time. I love it. Uh, and we're gonna see if you are packing more Sanctum in there.
Ooh, that's a great start. Dang.
I know.
I hmm. Okay, well I got that out of the way at least. That is a very good illusions. Let's think here.
See, against Not Tonight, she'd be like, Don't you know, dummy, that I always play the one card of the my other four, the house of my other four cards, just to set up that turn two. But
Well, when you have chains and you have a smaller hand to begin with, you don't have as
mm-hmm,
much flexibility.
totes.
Um, I think I'm just gonna pass the turn and not give you 3 amber.
Yeah,
That was a good one, though. That was a very good illusions. And actually, it was the bubbles that was good.
burbullas. I'm gonna move, I think, here, but Monic Pack Grand Melee. Neither of us are packing a ton of board control,
Especially you.
especially me. It's very shifty over here. I ditch that key lock. Don't love.
Ooh, really? The
Yeah,
Keylok I thought was like one of the key parts of that deck in this matchup, at least. But I really like the Keylok to go with the trickle down theory.
the
So
key lock's pretty cool, but I think with you on the chains, my like hope is that I'm getting the first key, if not the first two of three. Mm, not a card that I love uh, putting back on top for you.
I was hoping you'd say that.
A lot of options, though. I think I'm just going to keep moving some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, he's gonna play the widespread corruption too.
Yep.
Well, I don't think I have to worry about those hobnobbers because I ain't making any amber this game.
Mm-hmm. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, the Great Lakes definitely have tides. Bulwark Salvador. Capture there indeed. Cool. Do I. How cheeky do we get? Hazardous 4. Ties High Archive. That's fun. All right, we're going to Storm Surge you quick draw.
Okay. Think I can handle that.
Smash that duder. This one. Kelp. Toss that one there. Okay.
Hmm. Strong Kelp. Strong Kelp. Let's
You have.
hopefully fix some TCO images.
Mm-hmm. Diurnal Tides. Ooh. Whoa. Man. We got some knowledge being dropped here. All right, quick draw. Now your job now is to not find that crushing charge. Please, please leave it
I
behind.
wish I did have it. It would be really good right now.
Hmm. Dang. I kind of didn't want you to get rid of that dude.
Yeah, he had served his purpose.
Yeah, I suppose so. Fun. So we're gonna go logos here. Yeah, binary moray can come down. Reap, reap. I'll smash the bubbles to ready the moray. That is a moray.
It sure is.
Hmm. I have regrets on that archive choice.
Hmm. Okay,
Okay.
knowledge is power just to archive. And Archon's callback to get to 7. Pretty good. All right. Let's go Sanctum here just to kill the Moray and gain 1.
Okay, we got us a key. Very nice.
Yeah, you're off to a good start. I have just a chain left. Yeah, the disruption you played was definitely setting me back.
Mm-hmm.
The first bubbles was really good. I might have given you 3 if you didn't have the bubbles with that illusions.
Yep.
Could have at least played the Hawkins for 1 and the Ambervac, but
There's another storm surge and another bubbles. Boobayas.
okay, so that's all the bubbles, thankfully. You do
That's
have ways to get them back, though.
that's all the bubbles for now. Yeah. Salvador, get back in your seat. it's like it's like trying to do bedtime. My kid's like, get back in bed. Oh man, too funny. All right, Starlines. Starlines is also not crushing charge.
Storm Surge. Go that. Not going to be taking the chains for that.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it seems I am unfortunately drawing all of my capture before the Forge or the Medicus.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yet more things to crush.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of things to crush. I counted your creatures, and it did not seem like it was that many.
You forgot about my uncanny ability to draw all the right things.
18 creatures. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You have 12 of them. And I have Saurian without crossing charge.
Oofa doofa. All right, blue key seems pretty good. As does shadows, I think. I need a good reason not to do shadows, I think. Lacus has to go. Can I get you to 6 and do hobnobber things?
That would be very kind of you to get me to 6.
Yeah, seems unnecessary, right?
Sure does.
Okay, so that's cool. I don't think we're doing that. Jackie Tar is very cool. Got Dipno so that we can get some more fights in or other things in. Interesting. Yeah, I think we're just doing shadows here. It's not very creative, but do we want a fight as well? 2-4. That gives you some monies. Not Jackie yet. We're gonna Omni the Spy Master to get a fight in with the drone here for a steal. Should we take the Shield You Later off the board? I don't think it matters a ton.
That should be enough.
There's the Joya.
Yeah, Joya would have been really good earlier.
Mm-hmm. And a bunch of Sanctum Duders.
Also would have been good earlier. That's a GG.
All right. Well, when you draw all your stuffs,
Well, I don't think it was that. I think 8 chains was too many. I counted on the crushing charge and the grand melee, and I counted on your deck not having enough creature control, but it was able to get the bubbles early, and it was able to get the board first, which I think was the difference.
yeah. Looking at these, so why did I go? I mean, I was only 1 chain behind you, which still may have been too many. I put more stock in the Sanctum board getting established, and yeah, the Crushing Charge being a get out of jail card if I did get ahead. I don't think I have too many creatures aside from the Bubbles and the Moray that survive Crushing Charge.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And there's actually, yeah, there's not much that you have to clear creatures either, except for the bubbles,
yep.
which doesn't even clear them. It just makes them come back another day. So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that you handled the board so easily with my armor and with your low power creatures. And you didn't see a Talmage.
Didn't see a Talmage. It was the early bubbles. The illusions helped me get that time walk to get the board established as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really just kind of strung the bubbles along with the storm surges to kind of build my own board unmolested, and then yeah,
I didn't mind the storm surges because I didn't have really any creatures anyway.
yeah.
The one time I did with the storm surge was the turn I played Decadence just to kill a cow.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the storm surges actually bothered me. Um, but you saw I just played 4 creatures there. I have a hand of 4 more creatures, 3 in Star Alliance that would have come down. So like, yeah, I was starting to get a board going, but too little, too late.
So maybe yeah, too many things that need to be sequenced or that need to stick around.
I don't know. I'm curious. Like, I don't think 8 was too much. I think it could have gone a lot differently. I think 6 or 7, though, you like you said, was probably the right number.
Hmm. It's tricky. It's tricky because so much is going to ride. Yeah, my take on this matchup is so much is going to ride on who manages to get a board established and whether or
Mm-hmm.
not that whether or not that crushing charge shows up before it's too late. Um,
Yeah.
so I
That's a lot of games with low C though. Is like who can get the board first.
right, and I see this. I see this being a matchup we could play like 10 times, and maybe 6 of those games would be convincing wins for either deck.
It
Yeah,
could be. Yeah, I feel like yeah, sealed can be like that.
can be like that.
Um,
That's fun. That's fun. Strange ordination. You have a lot of ways, or you have a lot of ways to grab the tide. Triple ambervac.
yeah.
You got the reach advantage. Did you take chains for the tide? No, you didn't take chains for
No,
the time.
no, I opted not to with the Triska. I don't think it was worth it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Um, but I had 7 pips still left in deck,
7
so
pips in deck.
didn't see a lot of pips, didn't see a lot of creatures. 69 Saz on this one, which is
Probably a
not too shabby.
probably a boatload of that in Saurian.
26 in Saurian, yeah.
Your sanctum. I mean, you've got the strange ordination. That's going to give you what, like 2.7 or something.
Yep, 2.75.
Hey,
Correct.
all right. There we go. Yeah, Joya would have been very nice. I
Yeah,
mean,
Joya would have survived 2 fights, which would have been really nice.
would have got bubbled. Would have been bubbling up. No.
He would have been bubbled, that's true. But then he would have come back. I didn't get the taunts either until just now. Like I have the Almsmaster and I have a Kirker in hand. Um, and Sir Bever still in deck, other Almsmaster in deck. So like the taunts would have been good too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it could have gone differently if we played it again, but this is Keyforge.
Ooh, a big ol' 59. Big ol'
Yeah,
59 on the
I didn't
SAS
think it was
scale.
very good. I was like, I looked at it, I was like, there's not a lot of C, there's not a lot of pips. Um, I didn't think widespread corruption was a good play, but yeah, because I feel like a crushing charge and that widespread corruption is suddenly a liability for you.
Hmm. You may be right. You may be right. Why did I play it?
Juicy pip.
It was probably the juicy pip that got me because I was ahead in board in the time. I don't know if it put me at check. Probably not. I probably just saw myself ahead in the board and I was like, this is fine. but
Yeah.
but yeah, you're absolutely right. Like getting hit with the board wipe and then it would have been a liability. Let's see what happens.
Dead Sync is right. Yeah, I do think that you had the forgive or forget, so you could have got back the key lock. I think I definitely would have. Maybe you were I don't know. I would have probably played the key lock personally,
I don't.
and it may have hurt you. It was kind of unfortunate that you drew it as early as you did.
So I stand by not playing it there, though I accept it being probably a good card late in the game.
Yeah,
Because I don't think I don't with you at was it eight chains, 7 or 8 chains. I don't think that I'm winning that matchup as the unchained deck
Hmm.
if I'm not making the first key, you know.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
point.
and I don't think I'm gonna be, and I don't think I can afford to hold it for later. But
Yeah. No, I wouldn't hold it either. So you're probably right. But when I was looking at the deck, I got excited about the key lock and trickle down theory. Um,
yep, it is cool. It is cool. Um, yeah. Archon's callback. So the drop hit actually is pretty decent here. In Archon's callbacks, it's more like a draw 6.
okay, so my gut was right then.
Gut was
It's
right.
not a dead drop hit. Okay.
Yeah, because
You
you
did
don't.
get to 7, and I was curious how you got to 7. I had to go check the log, but yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking Omega, then you draw up to 6, and then, but no, that would be nonsense. You'd end at 5 every time.
Oh,
So,
right. Okay. Yeah.
or end at 11 every time. So you have to draw 5 and then see if you're under your max hand size.
Mm-hmm.
So the draw pips there are pretty cool. It's effectively a Omega draw 6,
Yeah.
more or less, which is neat. I like that. That's cool.
That is neat.
Um, hmm, interesting. I liked the Unfathomable. I'm not surprised DOK is not hot on it. Um, I think it's the sort of Unfathomable, or the sort of like suite of cards that can punish a chained better deck when it stumbles. Though is probably not great in a, not stellar in an Unchained game. Yeah,
Yeah, the cow was pretty rough when you had it.
yeah.
I did not want to fight with that. Uh, what's his name? Hawkins. I wanted to just move an amber off him over to your side. But you played the cow, and I had no choice but to fight it. So
Mm. I had plans of seaborging that Hawkins too. Well,
you did a Seaborg your own bubbles, which I was okay. Well, clearing a creature for me, I'll take it.
you gotta make an omelet. You gotta pop some bubbles, I guess. Sometimes, however it goes. Cool, man. All right.
All
Well,
right, I think I'm falling in a hole now in this season.
all right. Putting up on the board, making a little note on my sheet for the, you know, I have the sticky note. The like, hey, well, let's put this on the show notes, right? I crumple that up, toss in the bin. I have the like ironclad. This is the scar notes.
Yeah, I think you're up two now, if I'm not mistaken.
I may be up to, but the season is young. The season as of yet indeterminate max age is
Yeah, I was
young.
gonna say I don't know if the season's young, but there is still time left.
There's still time left. Totes. Cool. All right. Well, sweet. Fun times nevertheless. And thanks are in order. Appreciations are in order to you for this juicy Dark Tidings sealed offering. You send my
That's
way.
right. I don't know how many I have left. Buy decks from me now and find out.
Right on, right on. Cool, folks. Well, we will, I guess, sign off there and say thank you, as always, for hanging out with us on stream. So thanks, chat. And
Thanks,
we'll
everybody.
see you around the lab.
See you guys. See you next week.